Hey, what's up? Relative clauses, not a difficult topic, a little bit tricky to master, and in this video I hope I will help you. So, let's start. You know the drill. First, we're gonna go with the uses, then we check the grammar, and finally, we're gonna see some common mistakes. I'm not gonna go with details on this topic, just three little things. And, well, you are going to wonder, well, so what's the exercise this time? Okay, so all of us have different things we master. So for this opportunity, I want you to give me a hint or a tip or information that I have no idea about. And in that piece of information, you're going to use a relative pronoun slash relative clause. Okay? And please do it in the comments. So we have here a very simple sentence. George Lucas is a well-known movie director. We use relative clauses to add or connect information to the noun. So what's the noun in this sentence? Well, George Lucas. Yeah, it's a person. So we are just going to include things that we find relevant or important, okay? So George Lucas, who created Star Wars, is a well-known movie director. This, right over here, is a relative clause. We just want to include that information. We use it mostly for academic writing or to clarify certain things. Okay, so a clause, just in case, is a group of words that include a subject and a verb. It's not necessarily a sentence. Okay, and we use them to complement other clauses or sentences. So we're going to see different types, and in this video we're going to focus on relative clauses. And why are they called relative? Well, it's not because of this guy. Definitely not. It's because relative comes from the word related, because they are connected, okay? So don't give me those kind of weird things. No, it's an English video, not a physics video. So the most important thing for this topic is to know the relative pronouns. And here they are. Do you recognize some of them? Well, if you recognize most of them, it's because they are also the WH question words, okay? So we don't only use them for asking questions, we use them to create connections between sentences. In this case, they are not question words, they are relative pronouns. You know, in English we tend to recycle things. So, when we want to talk or connect about people, we use who. That's the man who escaped prison. As we can see here, who is making the connection in this sentence. Which is going to be used for things. Apple, which is a big name in technology, has its stock dropped 3%. Okay, that can either be used for people or objects in informal situations. So if I can take the same sentence right here, like that's the man that escaped prison, that is making the connection. When we're talking about people as objects, because they're being affected by the action, whom relates to people as objects in the sentence. Greta, whom they wanted to interview, had left the building. So it's because they want to talk to her. That's why she's treated as an object in grammar terms. Whose, for possessive. We're gonna connect here the ownership of someone with something. Dylan, whose wife disappeared, was devastated. Okay, so here we're emphasizing that, well, Dylan is the guy, and we are giving an extra information that his wife disappeared. Okay, where? Well, it's for places, duh. We visited the house where my grandpa was born. And finally, when, which relates to time. December 24th is the day when most families get together in South America. You see, we use when here to make the connection. Maybe you noticed this, but some examples had the relative clause between two commas and some others didn't have any commas at all. Well, it depends the type of clause. And long story short, there are only two types of clauses in general. Defining and non-defining. And it's pretty simple to know the difference. Defining is that we need the clause to make sense. Okay? If we remove any word from that clause, it's not going to make sense at all. Non-defining means that we don't need that and we can remove the clause and the sentence will not be affected. Okay? Long story short, that is. So, what do you think? Defining or non-defining? The thing about the commas. So let's check the sentence again. Well, we started with this one. George Lucas, who created Star Wars, is a well-known movie director. What do you think? Defining or non-defining? And the answer is, if you said non-defining, you are correct. Okay, so let's dissect this a little. George Lucas, who created Star Wars? Who created Star Wars? That's the relative clause. I can take this, remove it, and nothing's gonna happen. I can say George Lucas is a well-known movie director, and it's a sentence. It's not affected if I remove this. Okay, I'm just using the relative clause just to include information. In this case, as we don't necessarily need it, we use two commas. So whenever you see a relative clause between two commas, yep, it's non-defining. On a final note, when we are using non-defining clauses, this is not possible. Okay, we're not going to use that in these cases. How about this one? Well, the answer is gonna be almost like obvious, but why? Well, it is defining because Star Wars is the movie that got me into sci-fi. Try to say this sentence without this word. Yep, it doesn't make any sense. If I say Star Wars is the movie got me into sci-fi, there's nothing connected. So we are using the relative pronoun here to make a connection. That's it, to connect. Now, on with the mistakes. Typical mistake number 1, using the wrong relative pronoun. For example, Marie Curie is the woman who's discovered radium. Yeah, whose is for possession, not for making a connection of a person. We have to say Marie Curie is the woman who discovered radium. You see, using the correct relative pronoun is important. The second type of mistake is when people repeat the subject or the pronoun in the relative clause. We are using a relative pronoun precisely not to repeat the pronoun again. Okay, so Marie Curie is the woman who she. Why do we say she? That doesn't make any sense. So ideally we remove this and that's it. And that's all for this video. I hope it helps you a lot, and remember, I want to help you to learn English. Tsar out. Take care. See you later.